نذهب للصداع الثاني اللي ترامب عمله في نفسه، برضه هو اللي عمل نفسه كل الصداع، وهي كندا اللي مجنناه، وهيلاري كلينتون اللي خرجت تعلن الحرب على ترامب، بتقول ان واضح ان بوتين بيبتزه وبسبب اللي عمله ما بقناش عندنا دفاعات جويه. خليني ابدا معاك من جنون ترامب اللي فقد اعصابه في مداخله هاتفيه وقال ان الكنديين دول اسوأ ناس في العالم، والمذيع حاول يلم وراه ويلحقه.
I don't know how you feel about Canada. They are one of the worst countries in the world to deal with. And this has gone on for many years.
Wait. Can we say this? I love Canadians and Canada. Correct. I do not like their administration.
Okay, well,
right?
The administration and the previous administration too is terrible.
Yes.
But they have taken advantage of the United States for many decades, actually.
المذيع اتخض قال له لا ده الكنديين، ليه الكنديين اسوأ ناس في العالم؟ انا شخصيا بحبهم للدرجه دي. قال له اصلهم استغلونا كتير. وقال انا مش بهزر، انا هغير اسم البحيره لبحيره امريكا زي ما عملت في خليج المكسيك. لا تراجع ولا استسلام.
You saw the Lake Ontario. You know, people thought I was kidding, but maybe I wasn't, because the last one you saw was the Gulf of Mexico, the Gulf of America.
I know.
So now we have a Gulf and we have a lake, okay? You know, it's very simple. But look, I don't want to go into great detail because it's maybe boring to people, but to me it's not boring. They charge tariffs. They take advantage of us as though they were a state, and they're not a state. And they've taken our car industry, and they've taken our agriculture industry.
قالوا خدوا صناعة السيارات مننا وخدوا الزراعة مننا. وزيرة كندية خرجت وقالت سيبكم من تلك الترهات والعبط اللي بيقولوا ده عبيط.
President Trump said he's seriously considering renaming Lake Ontario Lake America.
Okay, sorry.
Is there anything you can do to stop that, and where do you think his head is at?
We'll always call it Lake Ontario.
Great Lakes.
Period. We're proud of our Great Lakes. We've navigated the, St. Lawrence River, the Great Lakes, for thousands of years. And it was part of a foundation of our country. And we'll just stand up for what we have. And meanwhile, I really think that while all these shenanigans are happening, we'll just be smart. And we'll be strategic. And we'll fight back.
ملامح اللي هو يعني الاستعجاب والاحتقار والازدراء لما بيتسألوا على ترامب بقت حقيقة غير مسبوقة. رئيس مقاطعة اونتاريو اللي امبارح وريتكم مسح بترامب البلاط، استضافوا، كان راجل توعد بالامس انه يطلع في الاعلام الامريكي ويحارب ترامب لاخر نفس. طلع قال انا مش هعتذر عن شتايم ترامب واحنا ما عندناش ديون 40 تريليون زيه.
Direct quotes. You called President Trump a dictator, a bully, and he said he can kiss your ass. Do you regret any of those comments? Want to apologize for them?
No, not at all. I stand by those comments. He can throw the punches out and the insults, and I think it was a little heated yesterday. I think we have to get back to the table, Major. And well, sure, it's going to be pain on both sides of the border. Ontario alone, employs 9 million people in the U.S. that are producing widgets and products and everything else under the sun that we end up buying, and it's going to hurt Americans as much as it's going to hurt Canadians. The only difference is we have the financial stability to support our businesses, and we're diversifying trade around the world. We've seen numbers increase around the world by 100 to 150%, and we're still creating jobs as the U.S. Lost jobs last month, and again, it's going to hurt both sides of the border. But we don't have the $40 trillion debt. We don't have problems with our bonds. Right now, the U.S. is feeling the pressure financially.
احنا هنقف قصاد ترامب وهيروح يطلب من اصدقائه في الصين وروسيا انهم يلحقوه.
We won't have to go down that road. The U.S., we're the #1 customer. When we buy steel, you need our aluminum, you need our high-grade nickel, you need the potash that keeps your farmers going. 90% of it goes down to the U.S. You need our 4.1 million barrels a day of oil that we ship down there, the uranium that gets into the U.S. So, and not to mention the electricity that we keep the lights on in businesses. And
to that point, Mr. Premier, you have suggested that one of the ways Canada might retaliate is to cut off energy supplies, power to Americans. Is that going to happen?
Well, I said surcharges, and you know who wants to pay more for electricity in the U.S.? I want to send more electricity, more power, more high-grade nickel. That's what Canadians want to do and support the U.S. Or they have the alternative, the president. He can deal with his good buddies China and Russia, and we'll see what happens.
النهارده بقى راح رئيس المخابرات الامريكيه روسيا في زياره سريه في طياره شحن سي 130 وقابل رئيس المخابرات السريه الروسيه وبوتين ما قابلوش. رئيس وزراء انتاريو طلع في السي ان ان قال ان ترامب بيضر بشعبه ونحن لن نستسلم.
President Trump this morning is also taking new shots against Canada on his social media platform. Truth Socially posted, and I'm quoting him now, "The United States is giving serious consideration to changing the name of Lake Ontario to Lake America, in that we don't expect to be doing much business with Ontario any longer."
Well, I think it's a lot of rhetoric because we're the #1 customer to 17 states, #2 to 12 others, Ontario alone. If Ontario was just standalone, would be the 3rd largest trading partner in the world. Canada is the #1 customer, and we buy a tremendous amount of goods off Americans. 9 million Americans wake up every single morning to produce a product, a widget, or a service for Ontario. But you know, we're strong believers in being a sovereign country, and when President Trump wants to attack our sovereignty and attack our you know businesses and people in Ontario, I can't roll over. My job is to protect Ontario and Canada. I think President Trump wants to hurt the American people. It's going to cost the Americans up to $5,000 more on automobiles. It's going to cost them a few $1,000s more when these tariffs are impacted the U.S.
هيلاري كلينتون ركبت في القطر وقالت ان اللي بيعمله ترامب هيسبب ازمه للجمهوريين مش كمان مش للديمقراطيين بس في حكايه كندا، الكل هيتضرر. وعلى فكره كلام رئيس مقاطعه اونتاريو دقيق جدا يعني، وبفضل اللي احنا قلناه بالامس انه الالم هيكون مزدوج وانت هتخسر خسران كبير جدا، لان بقول لك العلاقه بين كندا وامريكا عميقه ومتشعبه بشكل اكبر مما نتخيل.
I think there's a lot of bipartisan support. I can't imagine that even in the Republican cloakroom in the Senate, there's much enthusiasm for going to into a trade war with Canada. You know, you look across our border with Canada. I was looking at the percentages of trade. You know, 40% of Ohio's exports go to Canada. Something like 60% of Michigan's exports go to Canada. I can't imagine that the Republicans in those states, or literally anywhere in the country, are enthusiastic about this nonsense that, you know, Trump is promoting, and, you know, probably secretly cheering Mark Carney for standing up to him and doing what he's now doing on behalf of his country, but really on behalf of, the international mentality toward Trump. So
ترامب عمل تصرفات متهورة في الحرب على إيران. كلنا قبل اي خطوه ضد ايران كنا عارفين ومتاكدين ان احنا لو صعدنا ضدها هتقفل مضيق هرمز، يعني ما كانش شيء مفاجئ، الكل كان عارف كده، عشان كده ما دخلناش حرب مع ايران.
When I look at where we are right now, it is deeply worrying to me that we are, by day after day of impulsive, poorly thought out decisions, giving up so much of our strengths. They don't do the hard work about decisions. I mean, the most recent with the attack on Iran. I mean, we ran all kinds of scenarios about Iran. I started the negotiations that led to the Iran agreement on the nuclear weapons program when I was Secretary of State, and John Kerry then picked it up and finished it. We spent an enormous amount of time and effort gaming out what would happen, understanding all of the pluses and the minuses. I mean, the very first thing that would happen in any conversation is, what if they close the Strait of Hormuz? Well, you know, then you read that either Trump didn't want to hear it, or it was said to him and he didn't hear it, or he didn't understand it. So you can have a rhetorical point, but there's no depth that really builds the tactics and the strategy for Trump.
ترامب ما بيفهمش، افتكر ان الحكاية ممكن تخلص في ايران باغتيال المرشد او عيلته. ما يعرفش ان ايران كانت بتحارب العراق 8 سنين، لدرجة ان العيال اللي كان عندها 10 و11 سنة بتحارب. دي هيلاري مش انا.
That there was intelligence to target the Ayatollah and the leaders of the clerical and the military and the political branches of the Iranian government. Amazing that we knew where they were having dinner, where they were, you know, meeting, where they were hiding with their families, and, you know, attacked them, and by and large successfully took them, ended their lives and their regime. However, it did not collapse the Iranian regime. It did not have the promised effect that I think was promised to Trump and his major advisors. And why not? Well, if you know anything about Iranian history, and if you know anything about how the Iranian military, the Iranian Quads, the IRGC and the Quds Force inside of it operate, they run the country. The clerics are, you know, they're figureheads. They issue fatwas. They, you know, hold huge rallies. But if you want to know who runs the country, because you want to know who runs the economy, it's the military. Were they ever going to quit just because the leaders? These are people who had just killed 40,000 Iranians a couple of months before in order to stay in power. And they also fought a war against Iraq that went on for 10 years, and the end of which they were sending 10 and 11-year-old boys to the front lines. So the misconception on a strategic level has led us to where we are.
احنا في كارثة، ضيعنا أسلحة كتيرة في الخليج عشان حرب إيران، واحنا في أزمة حقيقية. لو الصين دخلت تايوان مش هنعرف ندافع عنها.
We have wasted so much of our munitions in Iran, and we of course have sent a lot to our allies in the Gulf, and they have used it to defend themselves. So we are in a difficult position because we are ourselves not adequately able to meet unforeseen dangers, or if, you know, China were to move against Taiwan, we would be, even if we were so inclined, and it's not clear what Trump would do, we would be in a difficult position to try to help defend Taiwan. So we have gotten ourselves into this deep hole, but...
وانا بقول لكم هيلاري انه مش هيدي اوكرانيا سماح بانها تبني مصانع باتريوت، لان بكل بساطة واضح ان بوتين ماسك عليه حاجة وعيلته مستفيدة من بوتين. بالله عليكم، يعني من كام سنة وانا بقول لحضراتكم على حكاية ترامب وبوتين دي.
There is any chance to do on a faster track what Trump said he wanted to do, which is to allow Ukraine to get a license to start trying to manufacture a form of a Patriot air defense system, we should be doing that. And the fastest way to try to end this war is for Trump to weigh in much more forcefully on Ukraine's side. Sadly, I don't think he will do that, Mike. I think whatever the hold that Putin has on him, whether it's the admiration he has for dictators, that he wants to be a leader like Putin, or the money that he's making from all these side deals, which very clearly there is a path back to Moscow with a number of these business opportunities that he and his family have taken advantage of, or they have something on him, what the Russians call compromat, or it's a combination of all of that. He cannot bring himself to criticize Putin or to really take any lasting position of strength against Putin.